Part 1. You will hear a conversation between an international student and an accommodation officer. First, you have some time to read questions 1 to 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning. I'm here about finding some accommodation.
Well, you're in the right place. Come on in and take a seat. Have you already registered with us?
No, I haven't. I've never needed your services before.
Okay, I'll just ask you some questions and fill in this form on the computer. First, I'll need your name.
It's Bhatt. B-H-A-T-T.
Thanks. And your date of birth?
31st of March, 1972.
What are you studying?
I'm studying nursing. I've been here for 2 years already, and I'll be starting my 3rd year in September.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 5 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 5 to 10.
What kind of accommodation is it you are looking for?
Well, I've lived in university accommodation since I arrived, but the university policy is that I now must find my own. I thought a bedsit of some kind might be suitable.
We've got plenty of suitable bedsits available. I'd like to ask you about some of your personal interests and preferences. We like to put together students who have similar hobbies and so on.
I see. Well, I'm a big fan of going to the theatre. Aside from that and my studies, I don't have any particular interests.
Do you have any particular dietary habits? Many students who live together often like to cook together, you see.
Yes, because of my religious beliefs, I don't eat red meat. I'm fine with chicken and fish, though.
And dairy products?
I can eat and drink those.
Now, what kind of students do you want to live with? Many students like to live with people who they are studying with. It helps with doing assignments. Others prefer to live with people doing other courses, so that they don't end up talking about studies all the time when they're at home.
I really don't mind what they are studying, but I would like to be with people who are mature students, like myself.
Yes, of course. It's my experience that students over 24 often have that preference. Let's talk about the location of the accommodation. Most people like to be fairly close to the university campus.
Actually, I'm fed up of being in town. I'd like somewhere out of town if possible.
That won't be a problem at all. I know of several good properties that fit that requirement, and you'll be pleased to hear that they're cheaper too.
Yes, I thought they might be. Actually, I'm from a village originally, and I'm getting fed up of the noise.
I understand. I'm from a village myself. I'll be sure to check that there is a good bus link from the accommodation to the university campus.
Thank you very much.
Right, we're almost done. Do you have any other preferences or requirements?
Let me think.
If you think of any later, you can email me or drop in and tell me.
Actually, there is one thing. I'd prefer it if the accommodation had a shared social area.
Oh, that won't be a problem. Almost all the properties have that. I'll write it down anyway.
Thank you very much.
Right, I'll just print out the form and give you a copy to check.
That is the end of Part 1. You now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to Part 2. Part 2. You will hear a speech about how to get some help in legal matters. First, you have some time to read questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sally Miller, and I'm here to offer you some advice on legal matters whilst you are studying at this university. Happily, most international students complete their courses without running into any serious legal problems. But if you do find yourself involved in a legal dispute of any kind, ask for help. There are two options. First, contact the students' union or welfare officer. Even if they cannot help you directly, they should be able to advise you where to go for help. The second possibility is to contact the Citizens Advice Bureau in your area. You can find them in the local telephone directory. They will be able to recommend a solicitor if you need one, and tell you if there is a local law centre providing free legal advice. They will also be able to tell you whether you can claim legal aid to help pay for any court and legal fees. Let me give you some basic information about the police. The police have the power to stop and search anyone who appears to be behaving in a suspicious manner. If you are arrested for any reason, even if you know it to be a wrong reason, remember a few very important things. 1. Don't be aggressive. 2. Do not try to bribe the police officer. 3. If you are arrested by plainclothes police officers, ask to see some form of identification. 4. Give your true name and address if the officer asks you to. Lying to the police is a criminal offence. 5. Do not sign any statement until you have received advice from a solicitor. There is always a solicitor on duty at every police station. 6. You will be entitled to make one telephone call. If you use this call to telephone a friend, urge your friend to contact someone from your university or from the Students' Union and get advice about what you should do next. If you find yourself in trouble with the police, it is very important to get professional advice. Contact any of the following: your university welfare officer, the Students' Union at your university, your local Citizens Advice Bureau, a local law centre.
Before you hear the rest of the speech, you have some time to read questions 15 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 15 to 20.
If you are found guilty of an offence, it could seriously damage your position as an international student, so be sure to ask for help as early in the process as possible. Remember, obey the local laws. The laws here may not be quite the same as in your own country. Here are a few examples of actions that are illegal here. It is against the law to possess offensive weapons. For example, knives, guns, chemical sprays used for personal defense. Even women are not allowed to carry sprays or other deterrents to protect themselves against possible assault, except for rape alarms. Possess or supply hard or soft drugs. Disturb the peace. This is called disorderly conduct. This means that you can be arrested for being too noisy or rowdy. A few words about drinking. In this country, it is perfectly acceptable for adults to drink alcohol in moderate amounts. For many people, drinking is an established part of their social life. Going out for a drink is how they relax or spend time with friends. If you go to a party or visit people at home in the evening, your host will probably offer you a drink. Often a lot of university social life can revolve around drinking, especially for undergraduates. Do not be surprised if people arrange to meet in a bar, or if events are held in a pub. But you are not obliged to drink alcohol if you do not want to, even if you are in a pub or at a party where everyone else is drinking. You can always ask for a non-alcoholic drink instead. And if you feel uncomfortable going to places that serve alcohol, explain this to your friends. There are lots of other places where you can meet. If you do choose to drink, remember that you should never drive a motor vehicle after drinking alcohol. It is dangerous, and the police can impose serious penalties on you. Also, remember that being drunk in public is not acceptable either, and the police can arrest you for it. Drugs and alcohol can cause serious problems. Let me repeat that in this country it is illegal to use drugs, except under medical supervision. But if you do use illegal drugs and you develop a problem, there are organisations you can contact. Contact your students' union or your student counsellor. Anyone over 18 years old can legally buy and consume alcoholic drinks in this country. But if you think you might be drinking too much, get help and advice from your student counsellor or your doctor. Again, there are special organisations that can help you with drug and alcohol problems. Contact them.
That is the end of part 2. You now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to part 3. Part 3. You will hear a conversation about a market research survey for a new radio station on the university campus. First, you have some time to read questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Excuse me, I'm conducting a campus survey. Would you have time to answer a few questions?
What's it all about?
We're doing some market research for a new campus radio station starting in the next few months.
That's okay. Sounds good.
Great. I'll just work through this form with you. And if we could start with some personal background information?
Sure.
Right. If I could have your age, please.
26.
Okay, good. And are you a student, teacher, or in another job?
Well, I'm a tutor, but I'm also a postgraduate student, so I don't know what you might call me.
What do you think?
Okay, well, I'm more of a teacher, really.
Fine. And would you mind if I asked about your salary, or I could leave it blank?
No, that's okay. It's $20,000 a year.
Thanks. Right. Now about your current listening habits. What would you say is your main reason for listening to radio?
Well, I'm usually busy during the day at work, so I usually only listen to the radio at night. It helps me relax and unwind, even if I'm studying.
Good. And how many hours a day on average do you listen to the radio?
Well, not a lot really. I'd say just over an hour all told.
Before you hear the rest of the speech, you have some time to read questions 25 to 30. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 25 to 30.
So, what are the two main times of the day that you listen to the radio?
Well, for a little while around breakfast time, and then it tends to be later, after dinner, when I've finished any serious work I need to do.
And what sort of radio programs do you like?
I like the news, but I also like classical music. It helps me to relax.
Fine. And turning to the new campus station, which type of programs would you prefer?
I think the existing radio stations cater for my need for news. So I'd like to see programs about local information, providing a service to the campus community. And in the same vein, perhaps more for academic viewers, some lectures or relevant programs.
I see. And if you had to give the new director some specific advice when they set up the station, what would you tell them?
I think I'd advise them to be careful about the quality of the broadcasts. The sound system. There are a lot of radio stations and people can change their loyalty quickly if it doesn't meet their needs. I think they should do more of these kinds of interview too, talking with existing and potential customers.
Oh, I'm pleased you think it's useful.
Certainly, yeah.
Good. Now, this station will not be fully funded by the university. So how often do you think it is tolerable to have adverts?
I think, out of that list, I'd say every quarter of an hour. Of course, that's providing they don't last for 10 minutes each time.
Oh, quite. And are you interested in attending any of the special promotions for the new station?
Yes, I'd be happy to, as long as they're held on the campus or nearby.
OK, I'll note that down. And finally, may we put you on our mailing list?
Well, I prefer not, except for the information about the promotions you just mentioned.
OK. Can I have your name and address?
Of course. I have a card I can give you.
Oh, great. And thanks a lot for your time, and we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
That is the end of part 3. You now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to part 4. Part 4. You will hear a presentation on insomnia. It's a sleep disorder that makes it hard to fall asleep. First, you have some time to read questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Insomnia is a sleep disorder. We all have trouble sleeping from time to time. That's not really insomnia. Insomnia is when you are regularly not getting enough sleep, or perhaps not getting a satisfying sleep. If either of those situations applies to you, then you could have insomnia. However, don't go running to your doctor for medication just yet. Insomnia is often a lifestyle disease, and pills from a doctor will not help unless you deal with the underlying causes of your insomnia by changing your lifestyle. For example, Some people suffer from insomnia before something stressful, like exams or a job interview. They cease to suffer from insomnia after the event. Insomnia can be caused by domestic factors, such as lighting, noise, and lack of privacy. It can also be caused by occupational factors, such as working irregular hours. A particular problem for transport and health workers, overworking, usually 70+ hours a week, too much travelling, or simply high stress at work. Insomnia is more likely to occur as we get older, and symptoms include not being able to fall asleep, waking regularly during the night, and not being able to get back to sleep, waking up early, and not feeling refreshed after a night's sleep. Insomnia can also cause problems during the day, such as feeling tired and lethargic, wanting to sleep, difficulty concentrating, and irritability. We all need different amounts of sleep, so it is not the length of sleep that determines insomnia, but the quality of sleep. Primary insomnia means that the sleep problem is not directly linked to any other health problem. Secondary insomnia means that the sleep problem is caused by another condition, such as depression, arthritis, stress, pain, worry, a serious illness, or medication. Acute insomnia is a short-term problem, whereas a longer-term problem is known as chronic insomnia and is usually diagnosed when a person cannot sleep at least 3 times a week for a month or longer. As you are aware, doctors may prescribe some painkillers or sleeping pills, particularly in cases of illness or physical discomfort, but for chronic insomnia, the underlying condition that is causing the problem needs to be treated. As I said before, this usually involves a change in lifestyle. Relaxation techniques have been proven to be extremely useful to people suffering from insomnia. It is important to relax before going to bed. Some relaxation techniques and alternative therapies, such as Tai Chi, meditation, and massage, may also be beneficial in getting a good night's sleep. Another thing that insomniacs should do is pay particular attention to what they eat and drink, and when. Don't eat a heavy meal late in the evening. Avoid alcohol and stimulants like cola and coffee before going to bed. Have herbal tea or fruit juice instead. One of my favourite suggestions is to drink a cup of chamomile tea with a little honey in it before bedtime. Delicious! Although exercise is obviously good for your health, don't exercise just before bedtime. Exercise tends to stimulate the mind and the body. At the beginning of the talk, I mentioned light and noise. Make sure your bedroom is dark and quiet. Also make sure that it is at the right temperature for you, not too hot or cold. Go to sleep at the same time each night and get up at the same time each morning, with no naps during the day. Follow a relaxing routine as much as possible and wind down before sleep by, for example, reading a book or listening to music. Take a warm bath after exercise or before bedtime, adding a few drops of lavender essential oil. It sounds luxurious, and it is. Finally, a word to all you smokers out there. Reduce the frequency with which you light up, particularly in the evening.
That is the end of part 4. You now have some time to check your answers.